goddamn.
Hey, how's everyone doing today? Today we are going to learn about evaluating expressions. All right, so evaluating expressions, you might also be heard of it as called substituting or substitution, and that is when you have an expression or a math statement, and you have variables, and you give values for those variables, and you plug them in, and you solve for that math statement or expression. Okay, so what's important? What's important is you always use parentheses. That's super, super important. Always use parentheses. All right, so whenever I replace a letter with a number, whenever I'm replacing a variable with a value, I want to make sure I plug it in with parentheses. And there's multiple reasons for that. Let's say I had 2x, and it said x equals -3. If I plug, the correct way of doing this is plugging it in with parentheses, and it would look like this, and this means 2 times -3, and that would give me -6, right? If I don't use parentheses, it could look like this, and that's 2 minus 3, and that is not right. Okay? So we want to make sure that we use parentheses when we plug in numbers for variables. All right, something else to remember that you want to have the same amount of open parentheses as closed parentheses. And when you're using a calculator, you want to make sure you error right or get out of to signify that you're finished with a square root sign or a cube root sign. All right, so let's do some of these. All right, here's some practice we can do together. It says, what is the value of the expression 5 parentheses a plus b, close parentheses, minus 3 open parentheses, b plus c, close parentheses. Okay, so I always want to substitute in with parentheses. So what I do is I rewrite this whole thing, and I want to use parentheses where I see letters. So instead of writing the letters, I'm going to write parentheses. That's always my first step. And then I see -3, and then I have parentheses, and then I have a b, so I'm going to put another parentheses, and then I see a plus sign, and then I see a c, so I'm going to put another parentheses, and then I have to close out this big parentheses. All right, cool. So that's my first step, is rewrite it, but with parentheses. So now I'm going to put in the values that it says. So this says a for this first one, and it says a equals 4. So I'm going to plug 4 in there. And then my next blank is b, and it says b equals 3. So I'm going to plug in 3. This blank here is for a b, so that's 3 again. And then c is 2, so I'm going to plug 2 into here. So always substitute in parentheses. That's super, 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 super important. Don't forget that. All right, so once we plug in with parentheses, what we can do is use the order of operations. So order of operations tells me I want to do my parentheses first. So 4 plus 3 would give me 7. So here I'm left with 7 inside there, and still have that 5. I still have that minus sign. I still have that 3. I have parentheses here, so I need to solve these. I have 3 plus 2, and 3 plus 2 is 5. There we go. So I'm done with my first step there. Now I'm left with 5 times 7 minus 3 times 5. Well, order of operations tells me I should need to multiply before I can subtract. So I need to multiply these two things. 5 times 7 is 35. 3 times 5 is 15. And then I can bring down this minus sign. So now I'm just left with 35 minus 15, and 35 minus 15 is 20. So that would be A, 20. So what we do is we substitute our variables. We take out our variables and we put parentheses, and we plug in the values for those parentheses. All right, so I'm going to show you guys a shortcut here. Nice shortcut here. We are allowed to use Desmos calculator on tests. This says standards of learning. You're allowed to use it on the SOL this year, and it does order of operations very, very well. You just have to make sure you plug it in right. So let's plug this into Desmos and see what happens. So I'm going to plug in this right here after I substitute it. So I'm going to type in 5 parentheses, and then I had another parentheses, 4, close parentheses, plus another parentheses, 3, and then close the big parentheses, and then minus 3, and then parentheses, another parentheses 3, plus 2, sorry, forgot the parentheses around that one, and then I have to close out the big parentheses. You can see right here I got 20. So as long as we type it in correctly, we will get the right answer. But you have to make sure you plug in with parentheses. All right, let's try another example. Let's do this one down here. I see I have 3 parentheses, and I see an x. So I'm gonna put another one so I can plug in my number later. And then I see a squared. That squared goes on the outside of the parentheses. And then I'm gonna do 4, and then I see another one, so I'm gonna put another parentheses for that x, and then close out the whole thing. So now it says x equals 5. So I'm gonna plug 5 in my parentheses that I wrote for the x. All right, order of operations. So order of operations tells me I need to do these parentheses first. Inside here, I have to do my exponent. So 5 squared is 25. So I'm left with 25 minus 4 times 5. All right, from here, I have to multiply before I can subtract. So I have to do 4 times 5 first, which is 20. So I'm left with 25 minus 20, which is 5. So that's what's inside my parentheses there. And I still have this 3 up here I can't forget about. I'm going to bring him down. 3 times 5 would be 15. So there's my answer, 15. Once again, let's check it on Desmos, see if that works. I'm going to type in this right here after I substitute it. Let's see, 3, and then I see parentheses, parentheses, 5, close parentheses, squared. For squared, I can hit this calculator button, and I see the A2 is my squared. And then minus 4, parentheses, 5, and then close out my parentheses, and I get 15. So Desmos is a very useful tool. You just have to make sure you substitute in with parentheses. All right, let's try another one. I see I have 2 parentheses 5 minus a. So instead of a, I'm going to write parentheses there. Close out my parentheses and put a squared. And then I see a plus 7. And then a again, I'm not going to write a, I'm going to write parentheses because I'm going to plug something in there. All right, now it says a equals 2. So a equals 2, so I'm going to plug in 2 for my a's. All right, so since we know Desmos can do this for us, let's plug it into Desmos and see what we get. All right, so 2, open parentheses, 5 minus parentheses, 2, close, and then close it out, and squared, and then plus 7 parentheses 2, and I get 32, which is my answer right here, C. So Desmos does a great job of doing this, but you have to make sure you substitute it in correctly and substitute it in with parentheses. All right, let's do one more together. Let's do this one down here, this top on the practice, because I want to show you and remember how to get to this cube root. All right, so let's rewrite it. So I see I have the cube root of x. So I'm going to write cube root, and instead of x, I'm going to put parentheses there. All right, so then and then it says plus y. Plus y. Now this is supposed to be y squared. We forgot the squared. It didn't show up on my paper here for some reason, but it's supposed to be squared. All right, let's leave it like that. All right, but instead of y, I should have known this. Sorry, not using y, we're putting parentheses. There we go, that's better. So that's parentheses squared. Okay, so now I want to plug in my values, right? All right, so x was 125. So in my parentheses there, I'm going to type in 125. And then for my y, it says that is negative 12. So I'm going to type in negative 12. All right, so order of operations, I could do that, or I can use Desmos. So let's do Desmos, because Desmos is a very useful tool, save you a bunch of time, and we can do it using Desmos. All right, so cube root. So let's see how to do this again. We hit functions, and then we want to make sure we go to miscellaneous, and then the cube root is right here in the middle. It's this radical sign with an n. So a cube root means there's a 3 here. And then underneath, we can type in what it was. So it is 125. Boom. All right, so now I'm underneath this radical. So what I want to do is I want to hit my right arrow key to get out of it. So now I am out of the radical, and now I can hit plus. If I don't hit that right arrow key, and I type in plus, you see how that's underneath the radical here, but it's not up here. So I want to make sure I get out of it. And I do that by hitting my right arrow key on my keyboard. All right, so now I can hit plus, and then parentheses, negative 12 squared, and I get 149. So this equals 149. All right, so let's say you forgot to do parentheses. You didn't put in parentheses. Let's say you didn't put this negative 12 in parentheses. Will that change anything? Why do we have to do it? Look, when I don't put it in parentheses, I get negative 139. That is not the same answer, right? So that's why it's super important when you are substituting numbers in, especially negative numbers, you want to make sure that you put it in parentheses when you plug it in. All All right, go ahead and try the rest of these practice problems on your own. If you ever have any questions, please ask a teacher. See you later.